New Zealand's Olympic Games have begun, with the women's football team losing 2-0 to the United States. To put that defeat in context, the US women's team have now won their past 12 Olympic matches in a row. That's how good they are. But with the Games officially getting underway with the opening ceremony in just over 36 hours from now, the question, as it always does at this time in the Olympic cycle, turns to who'll be carrying the flag. I spoke to our sports editor, Stephen Hewson, who's in Rio earlier this afternoon.
Tomorrow night, or Friday morning, New Zealand time, John, the New Zealand team will name their flag bearer, and I suppose there's been a fair bit of thought going into that process, a few names being thrown up, and I suppose one of the leading contenders would have to be Hamish Bond, who won gold with Eric Murray in the pair at the London Games. In this team, of course, with New Zealand, there's several former flag bearers. We've got the likes of Val Adams, who was at the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow. We've got Nick Willis, who was the flag bearer in London, although that didn't seem to bode terribly well for him form-wise when he finished well back in the field in the final of the 1500 metres. And Mahi Drysdale, of course, he was the flag bearer in Beijing, and that didn't go too well for him either, because he came down crook, or very crook, and with a valiant effort, finished third with a bronze medal in the single scull. So, I mean, Hamish Bond, Eric Murray, Hamish Bond would seem to be not a bad choice given the hot favouritism of them going into their event. The rowing gets underway on Saturday, and they're in heats here for first up on that Saturday. But the first athlete, I suppose, to compete in Rio will be Mahi Drysdale. Of course, we've got the women's football team. They kicked things off, but they played at Belo Horizonte against the United States. They lost that match 2-0. Not a bad effort against the world number one, but Belo Horizonte is about 250 kilometres sort of away from Brazil. So technically, Mahi Drysdale will be the one that gets things underway for New Zealand on Saturday morning, Rio time. John.
Stephen, can we talk about the Sevens team and where they are at with their juggling act around personnel?
Yeah, well, they've lost Teddy Stanaway. He's out. He fractured his hand when playing in a warm-up match against the United States. So they've called in Lewis Ormond. He's on his way to Rio. And also going to be coming over is Liam Messam. He's just on standby, but he will come in to Rio and join the side. Of course, he missed out on the initial squad. Big interest today, though, Sonny Bill Williams. He was the star attraction at the media conference for the Sevens side. There must have been 15 or so international TV crews there, and they pretty much hung on every word that Sonny Bill had to say. It was his birthday today, so quite a way to, I suppose, join the Rio Olympics on your birthday. He said he's been quite impressed by the food hall and the free takeaways on offer, but of course that's all off the menu as far as the Sevens are concerned, especially if Gordon Titchens has got his eye on them. But yeah, he's sort of been in awe of sort of the athletes around him and taking it all in. Of course, his sister is in the women's Sevens team, and he was saying that he's actually spent more time catching up with her than he quite possibly had at any other stage.
Stephen, can we talk equestrian? Because everyone is talking about Mark Todd being 60, and it is extraordinary that he is still at the top of his sport. But in fact, he's not the oldest equestrian competitor at the Olympics, is he?
No, not for the New Zealand team. The dressage rider, Julia Browham, 62. She keeps that pretty quiet because that only came out when we initially thought that Mark Todd was, in fact, the oldest Olympian in the New Zealand team this time around. But she said no, she liked to keep her age very on the down low. But yeah, so he started out in 1984, and she's just now making her Olympic debut here in Rio. So it's quite the... It is, especially when Mark Todd says he's now competing against many of some of the children of people that he used to compete against. He's maybe not quite, still got some way to go to be the oldest equestrian Olympian, because there was a Japanese equestrian rider who competed in Tokyo in the 60s, and then he made it to London in 2012, and he was about 72 when he competed in London. So Mark Todd's got a little way to go yet to be the oldest equestrian Olympian, at least.
Stephen, for people who are listening on the radio, there's gloriously happy chatter underneath you. Now, I'm watching and I can see where you are, but can you describe where you are and what's going on there?
Yeah, we're on Copacabana Beach in the middle of winter, which is about 22, 23 degrees here in Rio, so that counts as the middle of winter. It's also the dry season. But yeah, so there's about, I'm not quite sure if you can see them just out off my shoulder here. There must be about 30 or 40 people. They're standing in front of the Olympic rings and getting their photos taken. This is a spot along Copacabana Beach where people can come out and sort of try and enjoy some of the Olympic spirit and obviously what is quite an impressive part of Rio, but one of the world's greatest tourist spots, of course, as well. So yeah, people coming along and sort of just embracing the whole feeling of the games as things start to really kick off.
Stephen Hewson from Rio.